Hey everybody. Okay, it's Amy Mesney with from Teaching Ideas for You, and I wanted to pop in again tonight and check in on how everybody's doing. So again, just in case you just popped on, my name is Amy, and I am from Teaching Ideas for You, and I wanted to pop in here tonight to talk about social distancing, which I know for a lot of us it is going to be challenging. I personally think that I have been training for social distancing for a long time, so I'm ready. Like this introvert is ready for the social distancing. But I have people in my household who are definitely not enjoying social distancing at this point. We actually just started spring break this week in Florida, and so my son literally can't understand why I'm not letting him out at all for spring break. And I tried to explain the whole point of social distancing, and I even gave him the link since he's a teenager to like little videos that show you why you shouldn't be mixing with others. We had a little full-on meltdown at one point, but I think now he's kind of accepted it. But to be honest, this is something that we've kind of dealt with on and off because I do have autoimmune problems that flare up. And so this is not really the first time in our lives that we have ever had to, not go out or not do things. So I wanted to talk to you about how to get through this. Because like I said, my kids have done this periodically when my health issues flare up. So I know some things that work with my people and some things that didn't work. But the best thing, the very best thing is just, panicking doesn't help anybody. Everybody is a little bit anxious right now. People are going to be snippy and snap. I think we all just have to give everybody grace. So my way of dealing with these types of things is to prepare for the worst, but assume the best is going to happen. Because honestly, that often is really what happens. Like you prepare and prepare and prepare, but really in the end, things turn out okay. So stay calm, especially if you have other people in your house that tend to be anxious, and little kids will feed off of your anxiety, and even teenagers. So the more anxious you are about the situation, the more your whole house is going to go crazy. And that's very true because little kids really, they don't know why you're inside. And so if you're anxious and kind of snippy, they're going to feed on that. And then everybody's going to be even more miserable. And I wanted to just say there's some really simple things to do that you can prepare, to get through this. So I want to talk about, the CDC says stay away. They say 3 to 6 feet. So if you do go out, and we are all going to have to get supplies at some time, just try not to get really close to people, what I call spitting distance. I tried to explain this to my son today. Like I have no problem taking him to the beach and meeting a friend there, because at the beach, you're not really touching things. You're not really going to get that close together. So the chance of spreading stuff there is much less than if you go to the store and you're touching everything that everyone else has touched. And I don't know about you, but I literally cannot not touch my face. So I know that is going to never happen. So I'm better off just not getting close to people. So let's get into some tips. These are just mindset issues that I'm recommending. But my biggest, you got to do is set a schedule. Now, listen, you may not stick to the schedule, and that is completely okay. But kids need a schedule. I need something of a schedule. I think a lot of people thrive on routine. So you can make a beautiful color-coded schedule, and it can be, art at this hour and recess at this hour and whatever. It really more for kids is there's a bedtime, there's a breakfast time, there's a lunch time, there's a nap time. You need to have certain things that stay constant. If the other things really don't happen when you think they will, life goes on. For people who are trying to do some home education, a good tip for you is that your child's attention span is about 1 minute per year of age. If your kid is 4, they might have a 4-minute attention span. If your kid is 15, they might have a 15-minute attention span. So granted, there are some kids who are going to be above this curve and below this curve, but I think the biggest issue we tend to have is that we tend to expect kids to be able to sit and concentrate for much longer than what they can. So if you are planning an activity, use that 1 minute per year of age as like a guide so that you don't get frustrated and they don't get frustrated. If you're all shut down in your house and everybody is stuck there, and you have little kids, try and see if you can work with your significant other to stagger work time so that somebody's always on call. That way, like my kids know if I'm working, like they need to go see their dad. Like, do not ask me to go make you something. So that's just a tip that helps too. And you let the kids know who to go to. Of course, they always try and go to the person they think is going to be the easier person to get what they want. But, having that go-to person helps a lot. Another thing, go outside. Now, I know I'm lucky and we're in Florida and it's warm, but just getting out of the house can kind of cool everybody's nerves. So even if you're somewhere where it snows, bless you, but like once or twice a day, go take recess. Like when I was a kid in Pennsylvania, we had recess like twice a day. And I think the teachers probably were like praying for those times. Like we went out in the morning and we went out in the afternoon and everybody just dusted off, even if it was just 15 minutes. The other big thing, now we are in our house, a house of introverts. So maybe this isn't a big a deal for you as it is for us, but like, we all have alone time. Everybody has their own room and our rooms have doors and everybody gets to be by themselves. So, that is something where in your house, even if you guys are very, extroverted, somebody in your house is going to have their last nerve hit at one point, and scheduling alone time, and just working that into that schedule we talked about, that can help everybody survive. So like I like to call that nap time. I don't care if you nap, read a book, play in your room, whatever. But like that is you go to your room and you will not bother anyone else. So again, maybe it's 30 minutes, maybe it's 15 minutes, maybe if your kids are little and they actually will sleep, or they're teenagers and they will sleep, maybe you'll get more time than that. But having that break from each other, as if you're in a small space, makes a huge difference. So another suggestion I have, another tip, and this is something I did a lot, like when I would have my autoimmune flare-ups. I haven't had one for a long time, but when my kids were little and I had these issues, I would cycle things away. So like we would rotate toys and games. That way you have something fresh to pull out. If we're going to be locked down for weeks, like my recommendation is, if you know what they really like keep one out, put one away, and then you can change it out. If you can afford to, when you go out and you stock up on your toilet paper when it comes back in, then grab a couple cheapo things that are just new. That way, when the kids get antsy and you can't go outside, or, you can't put them in nap time or whatever, like you have something new to pull out, something different to do. It does not have to be expensive. I entertained my child for years with like buckets of Target stickers. I don't think they make them anymore, but every holiday they used to have them. And they were like foam sticker kits. And he would literally for an hour sit there and make sticker pictures. So it just has to be something new and different to pull out, so you have that novelty effect for your child. And even a spouse or a teenager, find something that you think they might enjoy partway through this lockdown, and whip it out and be like, hey, I got something for you. Okay, so I want to talk about planning ahead. If you're sick, you can't do these things. And this is, I don't want anybody to go in, again, we're planning for the worst, but we're expecting the best. But you want to plan as if you're going to be down sick for a week or two. That way, if something does happen, you're prepared. And I'll tell you, being prepared takes so much stress away, because it's covered if something does happen. And I mean that sincerely, because like when I had my autoimmune issues, that's when I really started learning to like stock ahead and be prepared, because if I didn't feel well, I couldn't get to the store. And my husband used to travel a lot, so I was home a lot by myself. So going to the store with 2 small children when I was in a big flare was just not optional. And this was before you could just Amazon everything to your house. So I would take an inventory. Like if you know you're going to go to the store tomorrow, what is it that you need? Do you have 2 to 4 weeks of toilet paper, your basic cooking supplies, paper towels, whatever it is, cat litter? Um, those are the things you want to get. Now, I have read like things from people who have been under lockdown, and they said the hand sanitizer and the toilet paper are really not big issues. It's running out of things like coffee, flour, sugar, like your meat. Those, make sure you have enough basic stockpiles that you can get through. Um, One of my big stressors is making and cooking meals because I don't really like to cook. Actually, I don't mind cooking. It's just that all my people complain about whatever you cook. So it's the age, but so I get frustrated. But meal planning is definitely like my weakness. So I like to know, especially if I'm locked down, like what am I going to cook? So like I know I have enough to make this kind of soup. I have enough to make chicken and rice. I have enough to make I don't know, whatever else they like. But just kind of make sure you've gone through some easy peasy meals that you know everybody in your house is going to like and not complain about, that you can throw together really quickly. Another thing is if you do take any medication, make sure if you're close to a refill, you get it refilled. I've heard some things, like are taking longer to refill. So I always kind of like to get them refilled as soon as possible. You usually can do it about a week before they come due. And then if you have pets, make sure you've got enough pet food for the pets. Like we actually ran out last week and then I had to wait for Chewy to get their order to us. But again, my advice is if you can have 2 to 4 weeks of your basic essentials for everybody stockpiled. So like kitty litter, dog food, cat food, whatever else that you need for your pets. Like don't forget the pets as you're out doing your runaround. Now, this is something important, and I want to, again, we're planning for the worst, but expecting the best. But this is a big one that might be the same in your house. I know my friend and her husband, they work on bills and everything together. That didn't work in our house. Like I am the type A, and my husband is more like a type, maybe a W. He might not be quite a Z, but let's just say he is not a planner. And so I am the one who is in charge. Like I am in charge of the bills. I am in charge of depositing paychecks. I am in charge of the online banks. I am in charge of the insurance, like all of that. And I will tell you honestly, if I go out of commission, my husband has absolutely no idea how to do any of that stuff. So the problem is if you get the flu or pneumonia, or like if you do get sick with coronavirus, even if it's not, if you're of a mild case, it's like having the flu. You can be down for 2 or 3 weeks. That's a really long time for someone else not to know how to access the money in the bank accounts and pay the bills. So I would say if your house is in that similar situation as the way we kind of divide things, like my husband does the cooking and I do the bills, just make sure that important things that you absolutely have to do, even if somebody's sick, that everybody knows how to do it, or that there is somebody that knows how to do it other than the one person who does it. It really can become a problem. Just trust me on that, because we've gone through that before. So this is a big one that I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about ahead of time, but it can really save your bacon when you are down with an illness and can't get out of bed. I had the flu once so bad I didn't get out of bed for 3 days, and I had my son flush contacts down the sink. Like I think the whole house about fell apart in just those 3 days. So that's why I look at things like this and I really say nothing else to me is as important as making sure that your household can run if one of the adults is sick. And if you are the only adult in your house, like I would write up something and give it to like your best friend or a relative that you trust or something. Like just have that information somewhere as a safeguard. And that's not just for this lockdown, but that's in case of anything. Like you can get sick, you can break your leg, there's all kinds of things that can happen that can put you out of commission. And I think this is just a good practice. Like it's just very good mental relief to have that done. So I hope my advice has helped you. Like Like I said, we've gone through this, with hurricanes. We have to lock down a lot in Florida, but also just from having been sick multiple times where I literally like could hardly get off the couch. I've learned some tricks that can help make this easier. But a lot of this is mindset. And I want to just tell you, it is really hard to not have control, especially if you're a type A. Like I'm a very type A, like a very big planner. Like my kids know this. Like they know we don't do anything unless mom has like all the information and the plan. And so when I first got sick with autoimmune, the hardest thing is the anxiety of like not knowing what to do or what's going to happen or how am I going to do this. And so I find for me, a lot of this is mindset. So I know if I have my ducks in a row, because I am a type A worrier, that I don't have to worry. And then I also, since I've been through it before, I know, it can be better. Like this isn't necessarily the end of the world. And I think going into this, we just have to say, this is for the best. Like this is going to keep everybody safe. It's going to prevent a lot of people from getting sick. And it's what we need to do to pull together. But frame your mind. If you feel yourself thinking negative thoughts, like this is so difficult and I don't want to be inside, and this is, as my son says, like this sucks, just, it's all in how you frame it. It really is. Like if you think positive, and you look for the good, you're going to see the good. If you look for the negative, you're going to see the negative. So just kind of keep this in mind, because I think having a positive outlook is really what's going to get you and your whole household through this without going crazy. And so that's helped me, like when I've had flare-ups where, literally I couldn't walk, with my autoimmune issues, and I didn't have the right medication. And, you just do your best. Like I did my best. The kids didn't necessarily get a lot of homework help during those times, but we had family time and we made it through. And that's like the best way to think of it. So again, I had a lot of helpful tips tonight. If you didn't get to join me till the end, feel free to go back and watch. But I am, thinking good thoughts for everybody. And I'm feeling really good about this, because I feel like as a country, we can get the jump on it in most of the parts of the country where it hasn't gotten too bad yet. And I just think everybody should stay safe. We should do what we have to do to stay safe. And if there's anything I can do to support you, please reach out and let me know. You can reach me in a lot of different places. Oh, I forgot my last slide, sorry. But again, this is just what I was talking to you about. Stay positive. There's a lot of things that you can do around your house that you haven't done for a long time. I know there's a lot of friends and family that I have always said that I'm going to talk to. I think I have photos from when my kids were like in first grade that still aren't in an album. There's a lot of things that you can do instead of being bored and instead of being anxious about the situation. Just find yourself something to do. So again, this is Amy Mesney from Teaching Ideas for You. And if you need anything from me, or if I can support you in any way, please reach out to me in any of these locations. Thank you all for coming, and you have a good night and stay safe.